The last salute. Princess Leonor's final day at military academy. For 3 years, the Spanish people have grown accustomed to the sight of their future queen in uniform, standing tall among her peers at the military academy. The sound of marching boots, the weight of tradition, and the discipline of training have all shaped Princess Leonor into more than just a royal, into a soldier, a leader, and a symbol of unity. But today, the familiar image shattered. Instead of routine drills and quiet discipline, the air was charged with emotion. For this was not just another day of training. This was her last salute. At first, it looked like every other ceremony. The flags waving, the officers gathered, the cadets lined in perfect formation. Yet the silence that followed carried something different, something final. And as Leonor stepped forward, dressed once more in the uniform that had become her second skin, the reality struck everyone present. Spain was not just saying goodbye to a cadet. Spain was witnessing the end of a chapter, and the beginning of a future no uniform could contain. What made this moment so powerful was not the formality of the ceremony, but the humanity beneath it. Princess Leonor stood not as a distant royal, but as a young woman who had shared laughter, sweat, and struggle with fellow cadets. She had lived their life, endured their challenges, and earned their respect. Yet now, in her final salute, she stood apart. Her destiny was calling her back to the palace, to the throne, and to a life where discipline would be measured not by drills, but by decisions that could shape a nation. The crowd felt the weight of history. Parents of other cadets wept quietly, knowing that Leonor's journey was unlike any other. Officers who had once been skeptical of training a princess now admitted she had earned her place. And among the cadets themselves, there was pride, but also a deep sadness. For they were not just losing a classmate. They were losing a sister in arms, someone who had proven that royalty is not defined by privilege, but by service. But why does this farewell matter so much? Because in Spain, the crown has always carried both privilege and burden. For centuries, monarchs have ruled from palaces, but few have walked the same path of discipline as the soldiers who defend them. Leonor's military training was more than a symbolic gesture. It was a statement that the future queen would understand duty, sacrifice, and the cost of leadership not from books or advisors, but from experience. And that makes her farewell more than personal. It makes it historic. As the salute echoed, questions filled the air. Was this truly the end of Leonor's military chapter, or just the beginning of a deeper transformation? Would the discipline she learned here define her reign? And most importantly, what kind of queen will she become? One shaped by tradition, or one driven by the lessons of her cadet years? To answer these questions, we must look back at her journey inside the academy. From the very first day, when she arrived quietly and without fanfare, Leonor surprised those around her. Many expected distance, but instead, she showed humility. She ate the same meals, endured the same drills, and faced the same exhaustion. Slowly, respect replaced skepticism. And in the long nights of training, friendships were forged. She was no longer just the princess. She became one of us. Yet, her presence was never ordinary. Every salute given to her, every instruction followed, carried the awareness that she would someday lead not a squad, but a kingdom. And that awareness shaped the way she carried herself. Unlike others, she had to balance two worlds, the world of cadets, and the world of royalty. And it was in this balance that she grew. On this final day, that balance came full circle. As she marched across the parade ground, the cheers were not just for her achievements, but for the hope she represented. In her uniform, she embodied discipline. But in her eyes, there was something more, the weight of knowing this was goodbye, and the determination to carry the lessons forward. Her family's presence deepened the emotion. King Felipe, himself once a cadet, watched his daughter with a mixture of pride and nostalgia. He knew better than anyone what it meant to balance military training with royal destiny. Queen Letitia's gaze was different, full of maternal pride, but also of quiet fear. For she knew that the next steps Leonor takes will not be within the safety of the academy walls, but on the world stage. And Infanta Sofia, her younger sister, looked on with admiration, knowing that Leonor's path would also shape her own role in the monarchy. The ceremony ended with a moment that no one present will forget. Leonor lifted her hand in her final salute, her eyes steady, her posture perfect. It was a gesture of respect to her fellow cadets, to her instructors, and to the nation she will one day serve. But it was also a goodbye to a life of shared struggle. In that single motion, she closed the chapter of a soldier, and opened the chapter of a queen in waiting. But here lies the deeper curiosity: how will this experience change her reign? Will she lead with the authority of a monarch, or the humility of a soldier? Will the lessons of the academy make her a queen closer to her people than ever before? And what happens when her path as a royal collides with the discipline she has just left behind? For Spain, the answer matters deeply. Because this is not just about one